The mystery attacker storyline with Jacob Fatu got some small advancements, so we'll see what's up there. We'll also check out how Jimmy and others could have a role there. Starting things off with everything new involving the backstage attack on Jacob Fatu. Immediately after the attack had taken place, the top 3 suspects everyone was mostly looking at included Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton. All 3 suspects that had a lot to gain by taking out Jacob Fatu. Drew would instantly become the #1 contender if he took out Jacob. Cody would have avoided putting his title on the line against Jacob if he attacked him. And Randy couldn't have been bothered that Jacob was placed in the #1 contenders match over himself. So those 3 motives there by those 3 superstars, they were all main suspects. Other fans have theorized some other culprits such as Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. Although it would have been an impactful move for Aleister Black to make in order to establish himself, it just doesn't seem to be much solid motive there with that possible suspect. But the October 24th edition of Smackdown introduced a new character into this storyline, and that's Jimmy Uso. Jimmy had moved to Raw brand in recent months, but he was back here paying a visit to Smackdown in order to speak with General Manager Nick Aldis in regards to the backstage attack on his family member, Jacob Fatu, and to try to get some information on what exactly happened there. Jimmy Uso ran into Cody Rhodes at the start of the night, and thanked Cody for coming to Jacob's defense the week prior. Cody asked Jimmy how he felt about what Jay did to him on Raw, and also advised Jimmy to do what's right for himself. While this conversation was going on, Drew McIntyre could be seen stalking Cody and Jimmy deep in the background of the camera shot. Drew McIntyre followed up that backstage appearance by coming out to interrupt Cody's opening show promo. Drew brought up the topic of Jacob's attacker, claiming that despite his deep hatred for the family, he said he is fully innocent for when it comes to that specific backstage attack. Drew's suggestion that maybe it was Jimmy Uso who was behind the attack on Jacob Fatu. Drew suggested that maybe it was Jimmy Uso who was behind the attack on Jacob Fatu. Drew joked that it's exactly what Jimmy's wife Naomi did to Jade Cargill last year, and how Jimmy possibly took a page out of his wife's book there with that move. But before Drew could dive into more of his conspiracy theories, Cody cut him off, and then Jimmy Uso appeared to beaten down Drew McIntyre as well. Jimmy is close to his cousin Jacob, so with all the eyes currently being on Drew McIntyre as the main suspect for what happened to Jacob, Jimmy is coming after Drew with everything he's got to try and avenge Jacob Fatu and stick up for his family member. Drew McIntyre is then seen speaking with Nick Aldis backstage, once again pleading his case for how he's innocent for when it comes to everything related to the attack of Jacob Fatu. But Jimmy once again interrupts that conversation and starts attacking Drew McIntyre backstage as well. That sets up a street fight later in the night between Jimmy and Drew. No one really gave Jimmy any legitimate shot of winning this match, especially not when Drew is the current #1 contender for the WWE title, but Jimmy still put up a decent fight. Drew would go on to win that match against Jimmy, and also took out Cody Rhodes during a post-match moment as well. But again, everything during that match with Jimmy Uso, Drew would constantly say and repeat himself that he's innocent and played no part in what happened to Jacob. So not a lot of crazy advancements to the Jacob Fatu story. The mystery didn't get any massive reveals this week, but the inclusion of Jimmy Uso is intriguing. It sounds crazy, especially since Drew McIntyre's character was the first one to bring it up. But is it possible to look at Jimmy Uso as a potential suspect? Remember that back during the Jade Cargill mystery, Liv Morgan and several other superstars swore that they were innocent, and even they mentioned how it was probably Bianca or Naomi who actually did it. Everyone called them crazy at the time for thinking one of Jade's closest friends was behind the attack, but crazy enough, that's exactly what happened. So similar idea here, that's Jimmy's family member, but was he the one that took out Jacob Fatu? The motive and angle is not as strong as the other top 3 suspects, but you can argue that maybe Jimmy has been so frustrated lately, he's seen Jey Uso get a big title opportunity. He's seen Jacob get a big title opportunity. He's seeing all of his family members get big opportunities, all while he gets not much of anything coming his way. So is it possible that all these recent events and seeing his family members get these opportunities caused something to snap inside of Jimmy and caused him to attack Jacob? Like many fans have brought up, Jimmy may be an honorable person in current day, but we cannot forget about all the sleazy things he used to do back during the peak days of the Bloodline. And we can't forget what he did to his own brother Jay in 2023. Remember that it was Jimmy's slimy actions that caused the Usos to split up in the first place. You also can't forget that it was Jimmy who led the attack on Roman Reigns in mid-2023 as well. Jay was conflicted about leaving Roman, but it was Jimmy who led the way there with that attack on a fellow family member. So if Jimmy has led attacks on his family members multiple times in the past, it seems possible to think he could have done it again here with Jacob Fatu. So although it's a bit unlikely, at this stage of the mystery, everyone that is around the situation is a suspect. Can't fully rule anyone out quite yet. And what Drew said is right. This type of attack is exactly what Jimmy's wife has done in recent memory. So could Naomi truly be instigating Jimmy's actions to pull off a similar attack? We covered it just a few days ago, but Naomi publicly tweeted positive words of support to Jimmy Uso to turn heel and enter the dark side. So that part of Drew's conspiracy isn't crazy either. It's shockingly a bit possible when you really think about it. Maybe Jimmy came over to Smackdown not to really avenge Jacob, but in reality, Jimmy was covering his own tracks and trying to really put the blame on Drew McIntyre and continue to get everyone looking at Drew for the attack. Strangely enough, it's what Naomi did. At every opportunity she got to point fingers at someone else, she took it. There were several times where Naomi would talk to Nick Aldis to get some information about the attack when she was the one behind it the whole time. So did Jimmy speak to Nick Aldis for information even though he knows that he did it himself the whole time? It's kind of scary when you match everything up and see how it does mirror each other in big ways. So not only do you have Cody, Drew, and Randy as top suspects, but now we have at least one more to consider if Jimmy and the Bloodline had a role to play into the entire situation with Jacob. Some fans also think that if Jimmy and the Bloodline are innocent for the attack, maybe this angle could also be used in order to recruit Jacob to Raw and be with Roman and the Usos. Jacob has stood tall with the new Bloodline, but he's never stood on the same side of his family as Roman and the Usos, so that could be a potential direction as well. Kit Wilson, the confirmed witness that was on the scene with the attack on Jacob Fatu, also appears to be on Smackdown this week, but he didn't have anything to say about the Jacob Fatu situation. The only thing Kit did was confront Carmelo Hayes backstage about his toxic behavior, but no advancements there regarding him being a witness for the backstage attack. We'll have to see if more developments happen there for Kit's witness status, and if more characters come into play with his story here. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.